So you've hit the wall. If you spend any amount of time working with Python, you've absolutely been there. Your code just isn't running fast enough, and it feels like there is an invisible speed limit holding you back. Well, today we're going to dive into the source material and figure out exactly when to use multi-threading versus multiprocessing, basically taking our scripts from crawling to sprinting. Welcome to this explainer. All right, let me ask you something that has probably frustrated, countless developers. Why doesn't your Python code run faster when you add more threads? You've got a quad-core machine, maybe even an 8-core beast. You take your heavy workload, split it into 4 threads, you hit run, and it takes the exact same amount of time. Or somehow, it takes even longer. I mean, it totally defies common sense, right? If 4 people paint a house, it's faster than 1. So why does Python just completely ignore the extra help? Well, to understand why, we have to talk about the underlying disease affecting our code. Meet the global interpreter lock, or as we affectionately call it, the GIL. Think of the GIL as the absolute strictest, most inflexible club bouncer you've ever met, standing right at the entrance of your Python interpreter. See those eager little threads queued up, ready to work? The GIL operates a single turnstile. It says, nope, only one thread is permitted to execute Python bytecode at any given time. So standard multithreading in Python, it doesn't actually give you true parallel execution. They are literally all just waiting in line to take turns going through that one single door. Okay, before we can prescribe a fix for this huge bottleneck, we've got to diagnose the symptom. Every piece of slow code out there generally falls into one of 2 camps, I/O bound or CPU bound. Basically, are you waiting on external resources like a really slow network or a spinning hard drive? Or are you thinking hard, maxing out your processor with heavy, complex math? Knowing the difference here is the absolute secret to unlocking Python speed. Let's break down that diagnosis. If your code is I/O bound, you're dealing with things like, say, downloading a massive file over the internet, or waiting for a database query to come back, or slowly reading a giant CSV file. The processor itself isn't actually working hard. It's honestly just sitting there, twiddling its thumbs, waiting for the outside world to respond. But if your code is CPU bound, oh man, you are doing heavy matrix multiplication. You're crunching huge cryptographic algorithms. The processor is practically sweating. So here's the deal. For the slow, waiting tasks, our prescription is multi-threading. For the fast, heavy thinking tasks, we prescribe multiprocessing. Let's look at the I/O cure first. Multithreading is essentially the art of passing the baton. Remember our super strict bouncer, the GIL? Well, threads are actually pretty smart about this. They all share the exact same memory space. When thread 1 starts a download, it realizes it doesn't need the Python interpreter while it waits for the internet. So it basically goes to sleep and immediately hands that glowing red GIL baton over to thread 2. Thread 2 gets some work done, hits its own roadblock, and tosses the baton to thread 3. You're saving time not by doing 2 things at the exact same millisecond, but by perfectly overlapping those waiting periods. Check out how this looks in the actual code. We've got a simple script here simulating an I/O wait time using a 2-second sleep. We create 2 threads, target this function, and this is the crucial part. The moment sleep is called, the thread voluntarily releases the GIL. Because both threads hand off the GIL right when they hit the sleeping phase, they actually sleep at the exact same time. The result? The total script execution takes just 2 seconds, not 4. The waits overlapped perfectly. It's a real game changer for I/O. But what if we're dealing with our second prescription, the CPU-bound problems? If that single GIL bouncer is the problem, multiprocessing basically says, you know what, let's just build more clubs. Notice how instead of sharing memory, every single isolated process gets its own distinct memory space, its own Python interpreter, and crucially, its very own GIL. Because the entire interpreter is duplicated across your CPU cores, you completely bypass the GIL constraint. This is how you achieve true unhindered parallelism. Here it is in action for a heavy CPU-bound task. Our function here is doing pure math, just a massive loop of sums. No sleeping, no waiting around, just raw calculating. But you see that massive red warning? Yeah, this is a trap you absolutely have to watch out for. I call it the Windows trap. When you use multiprocessing, you absolutely must wrap your execution code inside an if name equals oname block. Because multiprocessing actually imports your script to create new processes. Failing to use this guard on Windows will cause it to recursively spawn infinite processes until your machine literally runs out of memory and crashes the whole shebang. Consider yourself warned. Now here's where things get really wild. What happens if we mess up the diagnosis? What if you try to use multithreading for mathematical CPU-bound work? Well, it won't just fail to speed up your code. It will actively harm it. The GIL ensures only one thread can calculate at a time, right? So the system constantly has to pause task A, do a bunch of administrative work to switch the context, hand the GIL to task B, pause task B, do more admin work, and switch back to task A. All those little red blocks you see, that is pure wasted time. And the numbers don't lie. Look at this. When we take a heavy mathematical task and just run it normally on a single thread, it takes about 1.10 seconds. But when we forcefully split that exact same task across 2 threads, the total time actually balloons to 1.18 seconds. You literally lost performance by trying to be clever with threads. And here's the underlying code proving that little shocker. On one side, we have a standard synchronous countdown from 10 million run twice. Time is 1.10 seconds. On the other side, we split those 2 countdowns into 2 separate threads. Time is 1.18 seconds. Now that extra 0.08 seconds might look super small, but it represents the pure penalty of context switching. It's the numerical proof that the GIL entirely shuts down parallel calculation. Now, thankfully, writing and managing all these raw threads and process objects has gotten way easier. Python 3.2 introduced the modern toolkit, the concurrent.futures module, and it is incredibly elegant. To use a thread pool for your I/O tasks, you import thread pool executor. To use a process pool for your CPU tasks, you import process pool executor. The absolute beauty here is that the syntax is exactly the same. You set up a with block, use the .map function, and you're done. You literally just swap out the executor word based on your initial diagnosis. Let's summarize this whole diagnostic journey with a quick architectural matrix. Multithreading? That's perfect for I/O bounds like web scraping or calling APIs, mostly because it uses shared memory and has a super low RAM footprint. But it's blocked by the GIL. Multiprocessing? Perfect for CPU bounds, like heavy math and image processing, because it gives you true parallelism by totally bypassing the GIL. But remember the trade-off. Isolated memory means a much higher RAM footprint. So this entire deep dive really boils down to 3 simple golden rules. Number 1, if your code is waiting on a network or a disk, use threading. Number 2, if your code is calculating heavy math or complex logic, use multiprocessing. And number 3, always shield your multiprocessing code with that main guard. With these 3 rules in our back pocket, let's look at a real-world scenario to see if we can spot the right approach. All right, let's put this into practice with the 100-file challenge. Our goal here is to concurrently search for a specific word inside 100 different text files. We start with a pretty simple function that opens a file path, reads the text content, and returns a success string if it finds our keyword. Pretty straightforward stuff. Next up, we actually execute the challenge. We grab our CPU core count, generate our list of 100 text files, and then check this out. We use a process pool executor to map our search function across all those files. And being good developers, we perfectly obeyed golden rule number 3, shielding our execution block. We run it, and it works wonderfully. But hang on a second. Think about what we literally just did, opening and reading 100 text files. Isn't that just relying on the speed of your hard drive? That means it's waiting on external hardware, which makes this an I/O-bound task. Yet we explicitly used a process pool executor, which we know is meant for CPU bounds. Did we just break golden rule number 1? Yeah, we totally did. While the code works, reading files is fundamentally an I/O task. So I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought to go test on your own machines. How much faster would that exact same 100-file challenge run if you swapped that one single word to thread pool executor? Go run the experiment, check your execution times, and master those invisible speed limits. Thanks for joining me on this explainer.